today we are talking about startups and of course building brands. When you started thinking about it, was it difficult? Thinking yourself as a brand, what brand? And most of the people who said was what they wanted to be. No one said that, okay, this is my personality, I am this brand. It's very difficult, but it's very important to think brand as personalities, they need to connect. So that's, just a starting point to think about what it means to be, what are the characteristics of a brand. It's very important to see brands in human terms. It's not a company. It's how he behaves, how brand behaves, how it talks, how he interacts, how it looks. It's important. Everything is important. Your choice of things. So that's, I think so. The branding is not about pretty looking some jargon on your vision page and the way your logo looks, but it's a lot more than that. It's about personality. We're talking about the role and benefit of brand are, widely, I would say, not widely understood in terms of people think brand means logo. They think, oh, branding is all about having a pretty logo and a certain kind of color and a tagline, and that's branding for them. But that's definitely not the case. And with this change in the whole industry change, the kind of whole disruption which is happening, Airbnb taking over the Hyats of the world, or you're talking about Uber taking over another business. So that the whole business model is completely changing, and I think now the time for branding and is more and more required, and the differentiation aspect of it. So we all aspect of dreaming big, we and especially in this whole aspect of disrupting and trying to create something really big is always there in people's mind. But how really we can differentiate? So I personally think it's not very easy to really have a differentiation. You might get lost in a Me Too aspect. You might have a great proposition. Either you are not talking about yourself enough or in the right way, or you are a Me Too brand and then you get lost in a sea of sameness. So it's very complex. It's example, Nokia was the first mobile phone. It's nowhere to be seen. It's gone. It's disappeared. The people are very, very brutal. The customers, there is no brand loyalty. There is no brand love unless and until you really nurture and connect with your target audience. There are people, it's almost like use and throw. There is no brand affinity that the way it used to be before. There used to be very analog. Okay, you have one shoe brand or one kind of a hotel brand, and you used to stick to that. That's no more the case anymore right now. We talked about sea of sameness. You almost can lose your relevance very quickly if you are not innovating, or you are a Me Too brand. What is your differentiation from that particular brand is the most important thing when you look at branding. Over communication, we are bombarded with different channels, different platforms. We are always consuming. The kind of content we're consuming is endless. We're consuming on TV, on your phone, everywhere. We are just consuming, and there's just overload of information. So how do you differentiate when so much of data or information or communication is happening? It becomes how do you as a brand stand out? It's very important. Otherwise you are just another scroll and you're gone. How do you have the stickiness? Endless distraction. How many people pick up your phone while having dinner? There's always endless distraction. We are never there. We are sitting with our friends or companions, but on the phone. Like I see an airport or a restaurant, there are 10 people sitting together, but everybody trying to connect. They are together, but they want to connect with someone else. Is the friends are not talking anymore. They are wanting to connect with something else. So there is a lot of endless distraction in terms of the way there is a need or a certain kind of, I would say, feeling left out, the FOMO, right? That's the whole idea where people really, if I'm not checking or if I'm not liking, or how many people are really liking my post, and all those kind of stuff is really making you very anxious as a generation as well. It is becoming very difficult to stand out, get noticed, then get considered. Okay, you might get noticed, but are we getting considered as a brand? Then get preferred. That's something, okay, I have considered it, but am I really going for that? And of course, the main aspect lies in, am I preferred again and again and again? The repeat is where the business comes in, right? You don't want someone to just buy your product once and gone. Then that's not really having a kind of a brand connect or a customer connect, I would say. The way we feel is like the brands are like raising a child. It's very important to nurture it right from the beginning. The kind of as a parent, what kind of environment you create, the kind of your behavior in front of the child, the kind of education, everything is so important of nurturing the baby or a brand in a form like as if it's your real baby. And it's very important to keep that in mind, that you can't just treat it like anything else. But of course, for a lot of people, your business is your baby, but need to be treated like a baby as well. So to get your story right, you need to nail 3 things. Purpose. What is the purpose of your company, or what is your purpose in life? What the difference you want to make. Positioning of your brand, what you really stand for, and what you want people to think of yourself. And personality. What's your personality? Why will people like you? What is so differentiating about you? So these are the 3 core things which you need to get it right at the foundation level. It's not about, of course, yes, when you're doing a startup, you get into the whole operation, the logistics, the thing of how it's going to work, but really you have not worked on your foundation of what is actually if I'm not there tomorrow, will people really miss me? You have to ask that fundamental question, am I really making that difference or not? So it's very important to have a purpose and a clear purpose. I'll deep dive into each of them a little more. But you will understand these 3 things are most important even before you have a logo, or anything for that matter, even for your user experience, your service design, your logistics, the way you hire employees, the way you expand, the way you talk to your investors. You need to get this right. If you don't have any of this, no investor is going to look at you. It's not that you have worked out your business model. However, you must have worked out your business model, but the world is changing so dynamically, you might be redundant very soon, unless and until you, as a core philosophy, you have not nailed these 3 things. So purpose is all about like the main, the reason or motivation, the reason for your company to exist, which I talked about earlier. Like, if you're not there, is someone going to really say, oh, really, I miss, let's say if Uber or Ola was not there, suddenly I shut those 2 companies, what will happen to us? We are really going to be in trouble, right? So think about that. Think, am I really, what is my main reason or reason to exist? It's very important for having the reason to exist. The purpose of the company, it could be a social purpose, solving a problem, understanding a need state which is not there, and you're filling that void. So it's very important to have a very differentiated purpose, and purpose is very important. Why? I will get into that deeper, but just wanted to want anyone to guess which company is this? Airbnb. But it's very clear, it's not talking about renting, it's not talking about leasing. It's very clear, to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere. Yeah? It's a very high order purpose, right? It is not talking about the business module. It is about creating a world where anyone can belong anywhere. They could expand with this core purpose, they could expand to any business. They don't really have to stick to that. So understand that the purpose is not about a particular, your functional aspect of the brand. It's the philosophical purpose, why you really exist, is important. You need to have the correct purpose. You have to ask yourself why, and why am I doing this? And you have to ask these questions again and again. Ask yourself again, why, in terms of, like, same aspect as like whether I exist, whether it will make a difference if I'm not there tomorrow. Will that make any difference? So this is something very, and only when you start probing this again and again, you first answer will be, oh, because there is no place, someone like my service, and I want to be rich, right? Or I want to have my own independence and not take a job. That was the first thing. Then ask yourself why, actually really why. Once you start peeling off like an onion skin, then really will you, from the surface level, you will shed to the core purpose, like really what was the reason of you starting this particular company or starting your brand itself. So the benefit having of a clear purpose, having a clear purpose is have a clear articulation of your vision. Sorry about the typo there. And it always acts as a North Star. When you're starting to diverse, you're trying to do a lot of things, like, wait a minute, what is the purpose of our company? And that always funnels you down, grounds you back to that. Really doing this will help me, is it solving the purpose, or I'm getting digressed to something else altogether because suddenly it sounds lucrative to diverse into something else, but is it really the core purpose? A lot of startups have failed, come back and restructure their core purpose and really defined what they stand for. And it's fine to maybe realize a mistake at a certain time, but realization is most important. That okay, if I've started, if I shut down that service, will people think that I'm not doing good and I should keep my face and continue that? No, actually, if it's really against your purpose, cut it right then and there. Yeah, come back to your North Star. Make it a North Star. This is it kind of fulfilling that core vision I started the company for. That's very important. And the other aspect, especially for startup, is motivate, engage, and galvanize your team, because your team is the most important. Why will they join you? It's a shared vision, right? Why should they come to work with you? Of course, it's exciting to work in a startup, but if there is a real, genuine purpose that you're making a difference in the world, or you're kind of looking at things differently, and they all need to feel the same. They're not doing a job. Yeah, it's very important. If you have a purpose as a company, you will have employees who will stick much more longer in the good times and especially in the bad times, because they believe in your purpose, and the purpose is actually really something much more larger. So it's very important to galvanize the team. People never think about employees. It's very important to think about what your core purpose is, and is that employee really connecting to my the main core purpose, or the other way around. Like, employees should feel, hey, am I doing a 9-to-5 job? Where is the company going? And a lot of times that question arises, and if you have the clarity for employees that okay, this company has a clear vision, maybe they're facing certain problems, but I know at the core they have a very clear purpose in this world. So it's very important to have that. And of course, connect deeper to your customer. Like, you're not just as a surface level company nowadays. Every like, you guys also are looking at not just how the brand product is, but is it ethical? Is it fair trade? Are they using child in China to make my phone? Everybody is asking those questions, right? Because people are getting very conscious about what brands they subscribe to, what is the core purpose. So it's very important to connect to your customers at a deeper level, and purpose will give you that. For cost of not having a clear purpose, of course, you will function very radarless. You'll be moving in different directions. You really won't have the right way to how to expand, and you might drift away in different directions, and that would be really an issue, because you don't really have the luxury of time and funds if you're starting new. Of course, creating a emotional connect with your customer, like which I talked about. The emotional connect is important beyond your functional service you're providing. If you don't have an emotional connect, you are actually not going to stand for long. And of course, employees will end up just working for a job, just as I said, and there is no reason someone else will give double the money. They're off, they're gone. But sometimes if you have a core purpose, even someone who's offering you more money, but if they have a clarity of the purpose of your company, you know what, I want to stick here. It's not about money, but I think so I believe in my boss's vision. And I think my boss has a clarity of what they want to do, and I want to be part of that journey. It's very important to know that. You got the picture, it's difficult, 140 characters, and to write especially the obituary. But the thing is, this is what, when I talked about the purpose, is why will people really miss me, and what will I really stand for? It's really important to understand that. So this exercise was trying to kind of find your North Star, find that North Star. If you're missing, and if you think you had difficulties writing that, then you really need to think deeper of what is the main core purpose of your business. So the second one, we're going to get into positioning. We talked about purpose, and then now about positioning. So here we're talking about how relevant, and how are we different from others. That's being relevant to the purpose or at the service of people. But at the same time, how are we different from others? And that's the main key aspect of having the right kind of positioning, because you might be doing like, okay, I am the first to do this, and is it really different? Are you really the first one, or we are a trustworthy company? Who doesn't talk about being trusted? Like it's just so lame. It's just so same. What is your core differentiator? But at the same time, it's very clear what the customer understands you, what you really stand for. So it's very clear the purpose, and if you see Netflix as a brand, has really been very agile. They started with a DVD rent out, then they got into kind of a different kind of online service, and they've gone into really all the different platforms and on demand, and now creating original content. So they've been very, very, and the thing is, the reason they are being innovating, but they are being very agile about rethinking about their North Star. We are here for entertainment. We are about flexibility of any screen, anytime, anywhere, and that's really helps them kind of innovate and re-innovate again and again. And that's very important to have the right kind. That's the main purpose of having a good positioning, that you can actually be more adaptive, more versatile, and kind of innovate, and keeping that clear positioning in mind. So here, what we talked about is, are you aligned with what you really want to stand for? That's the main core purpose of a positioning. Because this again we talked about earlier, is if you don't have the clear positioning, it's difficult for customers to really understand what you really stand for. It becomes very confusing. Are you a service provider? Are you a mobility company? What are you? So unless and until you have a clear positioning, it's difficult for people to really put a real clarity of what you really stand for as a company. The benefit of having a clear positioning, you really distill down to the core reason who you are as a company, who you really are. You have to distill down to the crystal clear statement. Articulate your point of differentiation, how you are different from the others, and it's important to have that unique proposition of your own company. If you don't, you're not unique, and something which is unique means which is not a trend-based unique. Unique at the core level. Is it standing the width of time? Will you still be unique 5 years down the line? It's very important to have that really stated clearly, and invaluable for your team and stakeholders. It's very important to really, if the positioning is clear, they know what they're working for. There is a clarity of the way they should operate, or the way their ethics of the company, the values they stand for. It's very important to have those elements as part of your positioning statements. And the cost of not having a clear positioning, your customer really don't know what you really stand for. It's really a confused brand. You have there's no one takeaway of what you really stand for. And of course, lack of differentiation, and you just a me too. Like if you think about all e-commerce sites, like it's just Amazon, Snapdeal, Flipkart, they all are still the same of sameness, right? Of course, in certain level, Amazon might be better than the other, but they're all making losses anyways, right? But it's important to have a differentiation. The differentiation could be your user experience. You know, if let's say e-commerce site we're talking about, whether it's your brand as well, IndieFolio. So it's important to have what is the differentiation and what you stand for. So if it's about intuitiveness at one level, what about your core purpose, then what is the differentiation which you can really stand for and no one can actually straddle into your, but that differentiation is also kind of communicated to your target audience as well, that you really stand for that differentiating factor. Okay, so we'll move on to the next, the last part which we talked about, personality, right? The last part. So if your brand were a person, what kind of a person it would be? And I think so it is like a reverse of the earlier first question I asked you to what brand you are. So here, when you're creating a brand, you have to think in a human terms. Yeah. If the person, how that person would be, how it will look like, how it will speak, how it will behave, what are the things they will do, you know, what are the what the way it's going to dream as well. It's not just about a particular aspect. All of these are equally important. How will it behave in crisis situation, you know, or in a great other situation. So that's the reason of personality, which is very important for your brand. But now one thing while he was talking and it something triggered in my head, like you need to understand your brand stretch as well. You can't be affordable and aspirational. A lot of clients come to us, we are affordable, but we want to be aspirational. And there's a lot of, especially in India, there's a lot of discussion about this aspect of, you know, we want to be an aspirational brand, but we are value for money as well. And really, like, would you buy a product which is cheap, but will you tell the friends that you're buying that product? Or let's say you buy in the Kirana shop, right? Will you tell you went to those Kirana shop to do your normal shopping, or will you say I went to Nature's Basket and bought my stuff? You know, so, but as a brand, you can't mean to people a lot of things. Then you will be a schizophrenic personality. You are something to someone else, something to someone else, and you will be like, whoa, what's happening? This person is kind of all over the place. So that's very important, that how much you can really stretch as a brand personality wise. So this is the aspect we talked about, where you go, we follow. Everybody knows about it. But when you think about this line and you see the pug straight away, right? The hutch. So it is the personality. It's about that we are at your service anytime, anywhere, and that's why the whole aspect of the dog came in, and you know, you really connect with that personality as well. So it's very in simple terms, you can create a pen portrait of your brand or a personality, how this person will behave, how will look, you know, all those aspects is very important. So ask yourself, what personality attributes best describe you? It's very important to write down, am I, let's say, fast, or I am, it can't be like words like value, you know, it really doesn't work. So you need to, as a personality trait, when you ask, oh, this person is very, he is very trustworthy, or this person is very funny, or what this person is very smart. You know, these are the, where you really, when you use to define a person, that's important to have those kind of words clearly for your personality. And is this personality very evident across your communication? We talked about Indigo, the whole thing about how they have taken the whole fuss out of airline travel, right? They made it fun, they made it engaging, it's lightheartedness in the whole thing, the whole pun angle, and it made the whole thing a little bit more, you're sitting in a aircraft, you're sitting there, but these small quirky things on the packaging, you read, it makes you smile, right? When you read something on the ladder going up or on the bus, these things bring a small smile to your face, and that's the real personality. So is your personality of the brand, it could not necessarily about being quirky, but whatever your personality of your brand is it coming through on your communication, the way you write on your website, the way you, let's say if you have a call center, how is a person who picks up the phone, how that person really speaks to the person on the other side, right? The way you behave is very important when you go and present to a client, or how are you going to present, how you really they will take that essence of your company. It's a very important aspect of that. Is it consistent across all your communication? That's very important to reflect that personality. Benefit of having a clear personality, it helps you create a more likable brand because it's very genuine. You understand that it's in a human terms, right? So it's likable in a way, but when you understand something, of course you could like it or not like it, but if that right target audience is for that, you will really connect with that person, and or in this case the idea of a brand. Aid in differentiation, that would be a personality difference. So you might have a similar business, let's say design studio, we have a design studio, at 2-3 design studio, but what's your personality difference, right? You talked about being a partner, like you will work with your clients as if you're not working as an outside organization, but you're working in their organization. That's a different way of the way people will perceive you. So that's your personality, that we are not outside, we are inside, let's say, So finding that kind of personality, but you have to behave that way. We are always at your service is different, but we are on your side, is always being collaborative. So just I'm generally saying that even there might be a similar business, but how are you different in terms of your, how can you create different, is your personality is another opportunity to create that differentiation for your brand as well. And I talked about the consistency of tonality across touch point. It's very important to have consistency, that everything, you can't really leave one touch point. It has to be every detail. That's why I think Indigo could be a great example, from the way, hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, right from their statement, change of that statement actually really made a big impact on the way people thought about Indigo as an airline. On-time travel, on-time, So those are things which are very smaller parts which they have identified and they've created, and the brand really stands for those personality attributes. Not having a clear personality, difficulty in standing out. Definitely if you will be missed out, and difficulty in effective engagement with the customer, because if what you're saying in one communication versus your other communication, if it's different, then really you're not engaging with the customer in the right, or at least not, the engagement is not effective enough. There's a relevance of why he's chosen a certain aspect and what it really means. So I think so when you put together, definitely you get a clear idea of what he could stand for, and also knowing what for what it connects, why, for the way you function, or the way what emotion you will create, the way you will work, what kind of aesthetics, or generally the personality. So it's everything come together. So dig deeper, you might find something really interesting, tweak it, and once you're happy, take some Google images, put it and see how it really comes together. So brand is making a promise and keeping the promise, right? It's not just goes one hand. You have to, once you make a promise, then you have to keep it. And how do you keep it? And these are a basic diagram where you have the brand in the center. When I say brand, we talked about the three main things. Talked about our purpose, we talked about our positioning, and about our personality. That sits in right in the center, and of course it needs to translate into the way you communicate, your office space, the people, how you interact with people, the customer experience with your clients or whoever comes, as well as your service. How can your personality, your brand personality, or all these aspects really translate into the service design as well. So you need to kind of think it in all these aspects. It's not just one. So that's a good module for you to kind of keep in mind. Oh yeah, so making it final statement simplifies how does a brand really add value overall. It simplifies choice for people. Once you have a differentiation, it's very easy to choose. Creates an emotional connect with your target audience. It helps command a premium. So if you are really different and you create that emotional connect, you could actually afford to charge a premium, because people really love working with you, or people love your brand because there is a brand love, something called a brand love, which you create in people's mind. Of course, you reduce risk of expansion because there is a clear purpose, there is a clear positioning, and then that being a North Star, remember about the North Star, guiding principle. If you have that clear, your purpose is clear, you really are reducing your risk of expansion. You will have a clarity how you can expand, and you are not, just doing it because it sounds very lucrative at that particular point of time. And of course, bring focus and clarity for your whatever the way you do things, asking yourself why is very important. And of course, galvanizing employees. That's when you're starting a company, guys. It's not about just you might start 2 people, but you are taking along bunch of people in that journey, and they need a purpose. Everybody is, when they're looking for a job, of course they're looking for money and sustainability in terms of their careers, but I think so people are also looking for purpose, and if you give them that purpose and that's clear, they will definitely stick around for a much longer time with you guys. So yeah, I think so. That's it for today. Thank you, everyone.